Growing up, I went to church very regularly throughout my childhood. By the time I got into high school and then eventually into college, I had experienced many traumatic events that were hard for me to handle without a solid faith. I struggled a lot. I was suicidal and I was experimenting with all kinds of drugs and things and hanging around with people I shouldn't have been hanging around with. And this kind of led me into New Age practices that allowed me to have some sense of control in my life. So I would try to manifest things. I would try to convince myself that certain things were true, despite them not being true, just because it made me feel better and made me feel more powerful. But I was still very far from Christ, and I had no desire to open the Word. I had no desire or really any idea to go to church. I ran into Abby my fall semester of senior year, and she had this joy and this peace about her that was truly different and supernatural to me. It was something that I wasn't used to seeing or experiencing. And so we started to get lunch or dinner every week with each other. She invited me to her community group, and she invited me to the Two Cities Easter service, and eventually to her own home where we studied the Bible together. She asked me how I felt about Jesus, and I told her that I thought he was a really great guy, someone that I aspired to be like, but I did not consider him to be God or anywhere near who God was. So she prompted me to read the book of John, and she told me to consider that while I was reading, that Jesus either was crazy or he was a liar or he was telling the truth about who he was. And so as I was reading John, he didn't sound like someone who was crazy. He didn't sound like someone who would lie about who he was. So he must be telling the truth. And so I kept reading, and I eventually started reading other books of the Bible at the same time. And as I was sort of in the middle of John, on March 29th of 2022, I was born again. I woke up the next morning literally being a different person than I was the night before. I began to see the Bible as literally the living word. My desires began to change. The music I listened to, the movies I watched, everything changed after Christ. I have new friends in my life now that I didn't have last year. He's restoring my sense of identity, my sense of self-worth. He's restoring how I view myself in relation to him and in relation to others. I get to minister to people and disciple people the same way that Abby did for me. Jesus is my Redeemer. He's my healer. He's my provider. Jesus is my friend, the friend that I never knew I needed. It's a love that I never knew that I could have in my life.